Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music
And
writer,
I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
and this is the Hustling Sideways podcast. This
Yeah.
is episode number,
Do you know what it is?
I'll put it in post.
Oh,
That's what that
okay.
was.
That's behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah. No one
Yeah,
needs to know we did that.
I totally remember that it is episode number. So anyway, it's
We're
been a little
we're
bit
getting
since
sleeker. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say,
Yeah. Since we've been in this room like together.
to do
And
an episode.
yeah, it's been a while. We had some virtual shows. We had some live shows at Marquette, and now we're back. Now we're
Yep.
back where it all began.
Yes,
This is it.
absolutely.
And it is officially like full throttle summer here, which is awesome. And
Right.
it rained a lot today, but the sun's been out. The vibes are strong. Summerfest is about to start in
I was gonna
Milwaukee.
say festival season starts
It's
for me.
rolling. Yeah, we're gonna have a good time, and I'm gonna go see Ben Rector for
Ooh, there you
Summerfest,
go.
which I'm pretty fired up about. And then before we know it, it'll be Irish Fest, and then before we know it, it'll be the fall, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. So I'm gonna enjoy what we got.
Yeah, we should also take note if you're watching this at home that
Hmm.
you should look at my general demeanor now as f opposed to like 10 episodes from
It's
now, which will
yeah,
probably be like the end of summer.
yeah, and you look like a corpse, and then you got to come back to Earth.
I've honestly, so my wife's an athletic trainer, and I've told her that like we should do the concussion protocol
Yeah,
testing
that's
like
right.
at the beginning of summer and then go through the festival season and then see how bad I respond after because you just are drained and done.
Yeah, yeah,
So
you're
I
taking a
might
beating, man.
I might still do it.
I
We're
think
a
you
day
should.
before the festival
Yep.
start. So it's just a grind and but I love
We
it.
love it. We
I
love it. And
love doing
you
it.
know what else we love is having guests on this show.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've got speaking of music
Yeah.
and Irish Fest,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
we
Kind of
have
perfect.
we have a very Irish name and Jim, I don't
Yes.
feel like I should be the one to
You're good.
pronounce it.
I can do it. It's Mr. Evan O'Riordan, and Evan is a chef. He's a musician, and he does so many things in between. Evan, welcome to Hustling Sideways.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Evan, you are obviously not from here. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Jim, should I slow it down, or can you play this in slow motion so that people will be able to understand the
Oh,
accents?
yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
be all
so,
right.
Yeah, you'll
yeah,
be okay. Don't worry. We can hear you.
I'm
You're good.
I'm from County Cork in Ireland. I'm from a small little fishing village in the southeast of Cork called Crosshaven. Uh,
Awesome.
in growing up, there was only about 2,500 people there, and now it's after kind of exploding into about 10,500 in a small village. Lovely, quaint little fishing village. Beautiful when the sun is shining, and very cold and very wintry when the rain is there. Yeah,
Sure.
That's
Are you
excellent.
calling in from Ireland currently?
No, Orland Park, Illinois.
no,
Don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're good. We're good. But originally from Ireland.
I was gonna say because otherwise our scheduling is
Yeah,
terrible.
this
We've
would have been
scheduled
bad. It's in the middle of the night for Evan right now. I probably should have told you that before we got on where he lives. My bad.
it's fine.
So Evan, how big was your family growing up there?
there's only I have three siblings. I have an older, sorry, two siblings. I have an older sister and I have a younger sister, and there was just obviously the mother and the father. Yeah. So it
Awesome.
was yeah, my father was part of the police force in Ireland. So when I was born in a separate town, and then he got transferred back to where my mother was originally from, and where he got stationed then. So yeah, we moved there when I was 10, and I suppose when you move, you kind of remember your teenage years from then on, rather than
Hmm.
your younger childhood. So growing up, yeah, we did all the nice kind of village things, played all the local sports or Irish sports or GAA or hurling or football, and there
Hmm.
was every other type of sport. We're lucky we were a small village, but we were quite good at, and we had a great range of sports. So yeah, we did all them, the badmintons, the basketballs, the whatever you wanted to play, you could play. Rugby was a big play thing as well. So
Mhm.
kind of grew up until I went to school, or obviously our school system is a little bit different than years. So we'd have you do like middle school, high school. We just do what you'd call primary school, and then you leave that when you're 12, and then when you go to the equivalent of your high school, we call secondary school. So
Hmm.
Okay.
you do that on yeah. So you're there until your very last exams, which is called the leaving cert, and then you go on to college. So I went to school there until I think I was one of the youngest, because normally you're about 18 when you do your leaving cert.
Hmm.
So I had just turned 17, so I was quite young, and I suppose my first plan in life was I have two of my father's brothers are in New Jersey and in the building trade, and I wanted to go over to them. So I applied for a construction course. I got it, and I was going to apply for my J1, and I suppose come over on my J1 visa, which is the visa that students can travel to America on for the summer and just kind of and stay. However, the year that I did the construction course, they changed the format, so it had to be a university level and it had to be a minimum of a 3 year course. So I couldn't apply for the J1s. I had been working in kitchens, kind of just pot washing and stuff since I was 16, 17. And yeah, my trade came on from there. I went on. One of the chefs took me into the kitchens at the weekend just to kind of prep veg and peel veg and help him where have you. He knew my plans was to try and go to America, and he said, "Look, if you don't get it, you're wasting your time because I really want you to become a chef." So, lead on to the next question. When did you become a chef?
I was
Right?
gonna say, well, actually, I was gonna ask you before that.
Uh-huh.
Are you
Yeah.
somebody that grew up cooking around the house? Was that something, or was that more just parents? Like, how did
No,
you get
no,
into it?
my mother was my mother was a great cook and everything like that. But and my father would burn a salad, so it was yin and yang.
Okay.
So it was yeah. No, I never did. My parents also had a little grocery convenience store. They bought it when I think it was about 12. So you kind of your jobs around the house, or your baba jobs, or your what do you call, when you get kids to do stuff around the house, your chores, sorry, you call them. So our
Yeah.
chores were unloading the van from the cash and carry and from the wholesalers and stuff like that, and packing shelves and all this kind of stuff. So they were just day-to-day chores for us. And then I suppose the first kind of anything to do with food, I was literally just peeling spuds, or peeling potatoes in the local chipper.
Hmm.
I was nervous, so I didn't want to be out the front serving to people, so I was happy out in the back. So that was kind of my first one, and then one of the other fast food places across the road. I suppose it was 15 or 16. The following summer, they had asked me would I go and join them and start cooking for them. So I suppose realistically, it kind of took off from there. But it really all when I felt it was when that chef told me. That if he said that I was being a waster. I was wasting my time if I didn't go and I just simply apply for chef college. He said that I had talent that I didn't know I had, and he asked me to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Interesting.
wonderful. And obviously became your main trade for a little bit.
Yeah.
What were those early experiences in restaurants like for you? Because that would assume is a whole different animal when you get, customers coming in, a lunch rush, a dinner rush, all of
It
that
is.
thing.
It is. Yeah. It's high fuel, high octane. And it delivers everything that you want it to deliver. In Ireland, I applied for college and I got it, which you go for your. I suppose it's more or less like a trade. You do your first year full time in college, and all your weekends, you just always have a side job that you have to pick up. So you go cooking at the weekends. You fall in as what we call a commie chef. So you're an apprentice chef. Um,
Hmm.
and then at the end of your first full term in college, you're sent straight out into what they say you're going out in the industry. So they put you on placement for a certain length of time.
Hmm.
So I was lucky. I was lucky that I kind of always had the attitude, no matter how bad the place might be, or no matter how different, if it isn't the best restaurant and it isn't the best, you always take something from it.
Hmm.
The first place I worked was a bar, so it mightn't have it would have been kind of like what your sports bar here there. So you've got a lot of maybe deep fried stuff, your mozzarella sticks, your wings, and
Hmm.
chicken tenders, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that you're serving per day is just ridiculous because it's in, it's out, it's fast trade.
Hmm.
So I mightn't have been learning the best about fresh food, but what I was learning was that when I returned to college, I was one of the fastest running around the place because you just I was lucky enough that I took that. I knew that speed was a great skill to have within a kitchen. Um,
Hmm.
and then they changed things up. So you go out for 4 months of the year into the industry, then you come back into college for 2 months, then you go back out for another 4 months. And it was at this stage I started to get kind of pick and choose better, higher end restaurants as opposed to pubs. And there's a lovely little tourist town down in County Cork called Kinsale.
Mm.
very
Okay.
popular with American tourists. And I got into a very good restaurant down there, and it kind of really taught me. I was side by side with the head chef, so I was kind of his backup, even though I would have been still fairly young in my apprenticeship, and the owner was very hands-on as well. So I was there, and then I kept that on as my weekend job. Gone back, and so I was there for 4 months. Back into college for 2 months, but kept working from. And then the last place I went up to was you finish off in was in Galway, and it was probably one of the most higher end restaurants
Hmm.
in definitely in Ireland at the time, without a shadow of a doubt, in Galway, and still to this day is. So if I ever meet anybody from Galway and I mention Kerbin's Lane, the restaurant, they always go, "Oh, geez, that's a fancy place," you know.
That's the
So,
one.
and that really taught me about higher end, upper class food and working with that. Um,
Sure.
it was that's the way we do it, and it leads back to, I suppose, what you would ask. It's tough, it's fun, it's camaraderie, it's you're part of a brigade. But when things go wrong and the shit hits the fan, and it's the worst place to be, you know,
Yeah.
because it's. And I came from a time. I'm lucky that I was just in that period of uh, chefs couldn't go around hitting people anymore. And I'm very lucky because I tell you,
That
there was
one.
quite a few times. There was quite a few times where I probably would have been in that bracket. So, I mean, there's a lot of it's known the chefing industry would be known for high volatile, highly stressful, extremely aggressive. And you could have a head chef that's half your size
Hmm.
and
Right.
will literally beat you around the place, like.
Yeah.
So it's changed now. I mean, and I think a lot of these people as they get older, because what am I gaining from it? Only stressing myself. So, they kind of calm down. So now, I mean, you wouldn't dare dream of it now. Abusing a commie chef or hitting somebody,
Right.
or. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was just, yeah, in that transition period of mad, probably cocaine, alcohol fueled fucking lunacy that was the chef industry, like.
Yeah. I was gonna say my reference point that I keep thinking of is The Bear on Netflix, which of course I
Okay,
know is probably somewhat realistic
Mhm.
and
it is.
but
Yeah, yeah,
but out of curiosity, what is more pressure? Is it the high end place that people demand and expect great
yeah.
food, or is it something like the pub where they want their mozzarella sticks and they just
Mhm.
want them fast while they watch the game, but you've got to do more volume because of that?
No, I definitely the higher end stuff because
Mhm.
the components of the higher end and making up one singular dish is far more intricate, and you're working with far more expensive ingredients, but a lot more ingredients just to make up one dish. And
Mhm.
these are people that are paying top dollar,
Sure.
and they're the best trained chefs. They're the best run kitchens. They're, known renowned for it, and you have to perform. That's the end of it. You'll soon find out if it's not for you, it's not for you, and
Yeah,
they're the
you'll
Right.
ones
know.
that will easily tell you, that if they're for you or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
so let me transition a little bit, thinking about when was the first time you picked up an instrument? When did music start becoming a part of your life in addition to cooking?
Uh, it was probably as a child, I was more or less beaten into going to piano lessons by my parents, and absolutely, I mean, I hated it. I
Yeah,
hated
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I had this little, oh my God, this venomous little dwarf of a woman teaching me, and she was horrible. She was poisonous. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And then I'd say it was about 16, and there was a group of us that used to always kind of hang around together, and we went up to one of the girls went up to one of their houses, and her mother was there, and we were just sitting chatting. Her mother would have been in a folk group, um, and she would sneak a can of Heineken to us. But
Oh,
she she loved being the party person. But unbeknownst to me, she would have rang my mother and said, "Hey, Evan is here with
Oh
Oliver,
gosh.
and
Yeah.
listen, I'm going to give him a can. Is that all right? I'll make sure he'll go home." And my mother would kind of say, "Yeah, look, no more than two, whatever." So, but yeah, so of course she was the cool one, the cool mother then. But one night we were sitting up there, we were having a drink, and she said to me, "Evan, you like Christy Moore, don't you? And I said, I do, yeah. And I said, and she said, okay, sing Right On, which is one of his most famous songs. And I said, I tell you what, I'll sing Right On if you teach me how to play it on the guitar. She
Mm.
went downstairs. She went downstairs to one of her other daughter's rooms, and she brought up a guitar, and she said, "Here, I'm going to call your bluff." So she put the guitar on my lap, and she showed me how to press the chords. And luckily for me, it was only three chords, and I've made a career out of those three chords.
Yeah.
But she showed me how to play it, and she said, "Take that guitar, which was like a three-quarter length guitar," and she said, "Take that guitar away with you and practice. And next week, if you still like it, I'll do another song." And that's how I kind of got bitten by playing the guitar. So
Yeah.
I had probably, like, you're talking about a time as well that was, now if you want to learn or Google any song and get the chords for it, you can do it. But
Mhm.
this was 32 years ago, no,
Yeah,
22 years ago, and it was a time where you could only kind of get the words from somebody who used to do proper music lessons and
for
get the
sure.
pages and photocopy them, you know.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got bitten by the bug, and then I I'd say, I suppose, with college and with working weekends, I put down the guitar when I was about 19 and maybe 19, 20, and never picked it up again
Mm.
until I was 30.
Oh
Yeah.
Wow,
wow.
that's a long
Yeah,
time.
Wow.
yeah. Just never. It might be sitting in the corner, and I might, but I still only had the same three songs, or four songs, or five songs, or whatever it was,
Right.
And
Yeah.
on the night of my 30th birthday, a neighbor from across the road. He was 20 and he was in a band, or he was trying to put a band together. And we met him in the pub at my birthday. And because he only lived across the road, he came over for the after party, which of course you have to have in Ireland.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like you can get enough drink in the pub, so you always need more. So we had a big party in the house after, and I'd say about 6 months, 8 months after that, he just came across the road and he said, "Look, I'm trying to put a bit of a band together. Have you any interest?" And I said, "I'd love to, but I don't know enough music and I don't know." And he asked me, "Look, would you do me a favor? Would you come to our practice and come to our rehearsal and join in and just maybe give us a few pointers?" Thinking that I knew something, which I didn't. Like, so, but I used to love it because we'd grab maybe three or four cans and head down one night a week. So I was getting out as well, at the one night of the week, and I was having a bit of
Yeah.
fun with them. And next thing I kind of realized, okay, well, if I don't play these chords and I do it in this, I can play a lot more. And next thing,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, somebody had a printer, and you can now Google them, you can print them, you can download all these songs, and you can print off the pages. So it was starting to get kind of a little bit easier. Um,
Hmm.
so I was about 31, maybe 32, and he said to me, "I want you to come, and I've booked us a gig." And up
Oh yeah.
until up until the night before my very first gig, I didn't have a guitar that you could plug in. So the
Oh,
morning, yeah,
just
the
an
morning
acoustic
of the
guitar.
gig,
Yeah.
it was just acoustic, so it wasn't semi-acoustic, so it was a full acoustic. And I went, I suppose I better try and get
Better
a
go
guitar.
get
So
that.
the morning,
Yeah.
yeah, morning of my first gig, I went into a local music shop and I traded in my acoustic guitar and bought my very first semi-acoustic for €235.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought I was absolutely, geez, I thought I was Mark Knopfler gone wrong here. Like, it was just,
Yeah.
but I did the first gig and I just got bitten by the bug. It was fantastic.
Hmm.
Sure.
It was just like such a feeling. It was a real kind of rural country pub. All the set list that we had, we just, it went down really, really well, So
Yeah.
then we, there was a music agent or a booking agent, we'll say, had seen Damien was the other guy, had seen him with the rest of them. And he said, "Oh, look, you need to get somebody else on the guitar." Now, he actually meant the bass guitar, but the lads didn't hear the word bass guitar. So, and then he came to see us do rehearsals. And he said, "Look, when I said guitar, I meant bass guitar." But he said, "However, the two of you guys singing, so Damien and I," he said, "you've got something very, very unique with your two harmonies." He said, "I can get you gigs any day of the week. But if you've got the drums, you need a bass guitar." And we had somebody on the mandolin at the time, a girl. But he said, look, consider it, continue practicing with the band, but the two lads in the front, I'll put you out as a separate two-piece as your
Sure.
identity, change the identity of the band so that you can mix and match. So we discussed it as a band, and I think the lads kind of agreed that I didn't have confidence, and that maybe just getting a number of gigs under my belt would give me more confidence to,
Mhm.
to be
Right.
able to perform. So we went out, Damien and I. This guy literally had to come up with a name for us because we didn't even know what to do. So he called us
Just throw you.
yeah, that's literally it. Yeah. So he called us No Frontiers, and we started playing, and we got extremely popular. And the booking agent literally said, "Can I have your diary for next year?" And he said, "I will fill it." So he
Oh
had us
wow.
out. Yeah, yeah, he had us out every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the full year. But when during the summer months, kind of from May through to September, when you take it, that it would be the tourist season. Um, we were out. I mean, maybe 5, 6 nights a week. You know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's a
we
lot
just
of
it is a lot
That's
of
a lot
music.
of like faith into a
Yeah.
duo too, to be like, all right, you know what, you guys, like, I'm just gonna book you as many times as I can book you, and
Yeah,
I'm sure, like, but to have that confidence to also then come to you guys and be like, okay, you got to change that guy. These two guys need more practice together,
Hmm.
and
yeah,
like that's a lot of commitment too from a booking or from a booking agent to be like,
yeah.
these guys are the pieces are there. I see it. He
Yeah.
believes in you.
Yeah, well, he did, and in fairness, like I suppose he had the contract with up to 60 or 70 pubs in the
Mm.
one area, in the one county, we'll say, or maybe in the neighbouring county, and he knew where our music suited, and he wasn't putting us into places that normally do rock or heavy rock, and he wasn't putting us in, he was putting us into tourist places that wanted to hear Irish songs with a little bit of
Hmm.
tempo, and a bit of fun. So, we just started to go down really, really well there. And then he kind of departed the scene, and we just continued on. Those pubs just kept booking us, and then they started to grow and grow and grow. And
That's great.
everything was good. But, I was thinking about it when, I suppose, since you and I first spoke about the podcast,
Hmm.
like, the strange thing was, always through my uh, 20s, I was, even though I was a chef, I had to have a side hustle as a chef for the weekends,
Mhm.
because I just wasn't, chefs weren't being paid the money that they should have been paid.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I literally had to go out and do side hustle and work for cash. And I was chefing at the weekends for €10 an hour.
Okay.
Um, and it was, well, £10 then, which became €10. And I think there was 10 Irish pounds translated into €12.70 when the euro took over from the Irish pound. But
Sure.
places used that changeover to boost their pockets. So it became, instead of being £10 Irish, instead of becoming 12.50 or €13, it still only became €10 an hour. So as a chef, I was losing €2.70 per hour because places were just putting it into their pocket, and they
Yeah.
say, oh, this is the going rate. So for my entire 20s, I was chefing and working like crazy, and then from my 30s, I would do one gig and I would earn probably more money at one gig than I did for a month of chefing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Which is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Do for a
So
second, let's divest just a little bit into like some of those side hustles that you had to do while you were chefing.
yeah,
I mean, do you remember some of those? Like, were they just odd jobs, kind of task rabbit kind of
I
stuff?
had I no, I kind of had a regular place that I would go to, but then depending on the season, you can always count on seasonal places, and you can always count on larger hotels that would have. I mean, these places might have 4 weddings in the one week, and
Oh,
these
okay. So you
places,
were chefing
yeah,
and the side job was chef.
chefing, the
Okay.
chefing, and my side job was chefing, yeah. But you were just going in. I mean, I remember I was I was working in one place, in a pub. It was a pub by day, and these two Chinese lads came in and started to work beside me. And I was concerned. I said, "Hi lads, how are you?" Not a word of English. So I called the owner over and I said, you know, what's the story here? And he said, oh yeah, it becomes a local Chinese after 7 o'clock, so the lads are in prepping. It's
Oh
like,
my gosh, it's
and
so
I'm like,
cool.
so they're cooking, they're cooking for the Chinese restaurant, and I'm cooking for the people out in the bar. So it's, you know, it's crazy, like, you know, I mean, just
It's
Yeah.
really
you get
cool.
two totally separate identities cooking side by side with each other inside, you know, inside the
Yeah.
kitchen. So yeah, that was but there was like that, and then you just fall into play. Any place at all that would have you for cash, you would just take it, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
In terms of like, I know playing an instrument is one thing, but when did you realize you could sing? Because I mean, that's like a whole nother talent. Did you have to practice that, or was that just a natural ability?
I know, yeah, and my mother has a lovely voice, and I suppose that's where I got it from. But I just always, I suppose, just sang no matter where I was. It always just be singing something, like, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and you just kind of go through. I suppose it's like anything. Like, I'm 40, 48 now, and still you still go through phases of certain songs, and they just stick in your head for weeks and weeks and weeks. You just keep singing it over and over, and next thing, the following week, that could be a heavy metal song, and the following week you could be singing, you know, the most mushiest love song. It's yeah, I just kept singing. That's all it was. And then I suppose through school there would have been maybe a play once a year, and I was told, oh, you know, go over there, because they kind of knew that I could sing, but I wasn't aware that I could sing. I just thought that nobody else could sing properly, you know.
Yeah,
And
right,
it's
right.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then some lads would also, you know, they'd also be, but they were doing it on purpose because they didn't want to do it, like, you know.
that's right.
But then,
Right.
but then they would all come to me because I would be getting time off classes to go and
Mhm.
practice in the play. And next thing they were all saying,
Oh,
oh, okay, maybe there's something in that, like, you know. So
Right.
yeah,
Was
yeah.
there was there ever a certain gig that you played where you were like, wow, I'm like I've made the next step, or like everyone like it's crowded in here. You know, one gig that sticks out as being like that was a big breakthrough for us.
Yeah, like you can, like you, I suppose any gig that you play that there's a crowd there, and you might necessarily make a breakthrough, but you know that what you're doing is right because people are, whether it's the alcohol in them or whether they just want to party. But I mean, there's a place in County Clare, and it's a pub right on the crossroads, nothing around it for miles, and he changes his car park he hires in proper festival people, and he just does what they call five bands and a pig.
Oh,
So he's got
nice.
five bands playing one after another, and they put on
Like,
the pig and the spit, and they do that, and it's, I mean, he could have anywhere from unofficially 1,200 to probably maybe 1,500 people in the car park just
wow,
drinking
I need
and
to steal
partying,
this idea. I
that's
need to
you know,
amazing.
I need
and
to
it's
book five bands and a
That's
pig.
right. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, and it's wild. It's absolutely, and like, wild in the best possible way, you know. And you do
Hmm.
Mhm.
those, like, and then you kind of, I suppose, you get little inklings along the way when you start getting booked for specific, maybe festivals or uh, certain gigs, like, you know. So and that happened. We played in the north of Germany. So we progressed from being a two-piece, Damien and I, the drummer left, and we ended up bringing in a third guy that was on mandolins. So now you had three males. I picked up and taught myself how to play the bass guitar. So I was on bass and singing. Damien was on guitar and singing, and then Frank was on mandolin and fiddle and singing. So you had three
Hmm.
men out singing harmonies. So three different harmonies,
Mhm.
which really brought it on another bit. And shortly after, we recorded an album, and we brought in a drummer to play on the tracks for the album. And then we ended up keeping him on the band. So what I did was, we might have been still singing the same kind of Irishy upbeat songs, but he was probably one of the best drummers that I've ever seen. And he just really drove on the Irish music in a real kind of a rock kind of a way. So we
Mhm.
uh, so we ended up becoming a four piece. So then after that, you know, you start picking up more kind of corporate gigs, more wedding gigs, and then we were asked to play in Germany as part of a music festival, which is in an underground cave. So you
Hmm.
Oh
walk
wow.
in, so you kind of walk up a few roads, and you go into the mouth of this cave, and then you walk all the way down, and it's like a big massive pit, and there's 2,000 people it takes per night. So we
Cool
played in
venue.
front of,
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So
That's
we
sick.
and I mean, the sound inside this place is just, I mean, unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, the acoustics are bouncing around the place, and so we did. Yeah, so I mean, to say that, you know, and then we went over to Scotland, and we played the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh for a week. And I mean, again, like Edinburgh's Fringe Festival lasts for a full month, and it's
Mhm.
normally comedy and spoken word and music. And so we played that for a week, and you know, just to know that you have these places under your belt is phenomenal. Like you know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Let's fast forward a little bit to now that you're in Illinois, and what is how are you occupying your time? Is it chefing and music 50-50? Like how do you think the split is now?
No, I actually, would you believe, in Ireland we have a saying, there is no such thing as an old chef. So
Okay.
I finished up chefing probably about 15 years ago, and I went sales repping, and I did one of the companies that I was supplying. I knew quite a number of their convenience stores, and
Hmm.
the mothership of this particular brand. For 10 years, I went around just got to all the convenience stores, training them on fresh food and training them in their deli counters and stuff. So I
Hmm.
didn't chef. So when I came over here, I literally only had music because I think people were afraid because the visa that I was on was strictly for music.
Hmm.
Okay.
And okay, so you had that whole people were probably just afraid to kind of venture off that and in the legitimate sense of the way.
Mhm.
So when I landed, it was 2022, and we were in St. Louis, and um, not many Irish pubs are the music. Irish music scene isn't huge in St. Louis, but obviously my wife is from up here, and we used to come up and down maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, or maybe twice every 6 weeks. So when we used to come up here, we would always I would always kind of come up on a Wednesday night, and then I would gig maybe the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and head back down on Sunday. And so I was
Mhm.
kind of doing that. And then we moved at the end of because my wife was doing traveling nursing. We moved.
Hmm.
Her next assignment was in Boston. So I mean, plenty of
Much
Irish
better.
pubs in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, yeah, yeah. Plus, this was my status changed as well, so I was able to go back, and I did chefing in an Irish pub in Boston, and it was just it was fantastic because they wanted somebody that had the experience of who isn't what you guys call cooks out the front, but then
Hmm.
behind the cook, who preps for the cook. So he wanted an Irish person, he wanted a chef who knew what they
Mhm.
were doing because the cooks will take something that's prepared for them and literally maybe cook it or deep fry it and then serve it. But who's putting all that together? So I took on that role, and it was perfect because they wanted somebody Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday, 8 or 10 hours entirely per day, up to myself. And then I would every Wednesday I finished in the kitchen of the Dubliner at 6 p.m. and at 7 p.m. I was on stage in the same pub.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. And then my Wednesdays. So that was my Wednesdays. I'd normally take Thursday off if Kathleen was off, and then I'd be gigging Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that was Boston. Then DC was next, and again it went back to people who just didn't want to get into hiring somebody that didn't have the other paperwork which I then needed. So it was just music, but I was lucky that I was playing music in Virginia and in Boston, maybe four, maybe 5 nights per week. So it was
Mhm.
a side hustle all of a sudden became my main hustle, like you know. And that was
Yeah.
up until we moved back to Illinois. So now I'm dining service manager is my official fancy title in senior living residence. So I work in a senior living residence that has 6 kitchens, and it's my job to look after 4 of those kitchens and make sure the right people are doing the right thing at the right time in each of those kitchens. So I literally just spend my day walking in a full circle around the buildings, just constantly checking. Because you breakfast, lunch, dinner, you know, and then all the snacking in between for the residents, you know.
Sounds
So
great. Yeah.
I well, yeah, I get my steps in, but I wish I could lose the weight. But and then I take gigs as they start coming in, and
Mhm.
it's pretty good, man. My side hustle has kept me alive, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the places he does gigs at is Riley's daughter, where Kevin
Oh,
Cronin is
yeah.
a
A
big
link
guest.
to
But
another
that's right.
another former guest.
You bet. You bet.
So I think that speaks to the hustle though
Mhm.
part of it, like being able to recognize that opportunity too, because finding gigs 4 or 5 nights, especially in Irish music, is not easy.
Mhm.
To be like,
No,
okay,
no,
there's only so, especially like places like St. Louis or Virginia or wherever, where there
yeah,
might only be 3 or 4 Irish bars in the whole
And
place.
they're
Like I'm
not
thinking of
yeah,
Milwaukee, and
right. Yeah, there's
realistically,
not
we've
many.
got what 4 or 5
yeah,
maybe that are like
Real, right.
true Irish bars where you would
yeah,
hear Irish music kind of
Mhm.
thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's that.
It's, you know what, it is, but it's, I suppose it's, I've had to adapt since I came here. So I've had to take on more. Um, I could do at home, our set list would normally be 2 hours, and you
Mhm,
do 2 hours straight, no breaks, and you start at 10:30, you finish at 12:30, and then they call last call at the bar.
Mhm.
But over here, it is a 3 hour gig, so you play a full hour, you take 10 minutes, you play 50 minutes, take 10 minutes, and then do your last 50. Um,
mhm,
but what I've learned is that the actual, what you just said, actual Irish bars where you hear the tunes, they're kind of few and far between. You've
mhm,
got good, strong Irish bars that are known for being Irish bars. They want some of the popular Irish songs, but then they want other stuff. So I've learned that I had to adapt and I had to change things around for myself. Introduce a bit of country, focus more towards the end of the night on a little bit of kind of 70s, 80s, and 90s, and modernize it a small bit. And just do little gimmicks just to get the kind of crowd behind you, get the crowd going. So, listen, even though it's a side hustle, I still would like to think that I'm professional in delivering a side hustle to somebody, if that makes sense, because
yeah,
there's no point, yeah, there's no point in me looking at it, not looking at it like a business, because if it's going to end up making me money, and entertaining and getting more gigs and then getting more quality gigs,
Mhm.
then I definitely now 100% look at it as if it's another business.
yeah, absolutely. Well, if people want to find you, first off, thank you for doing
Yeah.
this. If people want to find you
No
and
problem.
keep track of both the music side of things for you and maybe the food side of things too, where's the best place to go ahead and find you?
I suppose I update all of my gigs on a weekly basis on Instagram, which
Mhm,
is literally just my name, Evin, and then O'Riordan. I
mhm.
presume my name is up there, is it? Because it's in
Yes,
front of
yeah,
me
yeah,
here. All right, that's great. So it's all, yeah, it's Evan O'Riordan Music,
awesome.
and it's the same for Facebook, and that's where
It's a
they'll find
spot.
me. I update my gigs, and all my contact info is on there, and you can tell them exactly where I'm playing and what I'm doing, and all that kind of stuff.
Good times roll.
For sure.
Love
I
it.
do also want to quickly ask because
Yeah,
we talked sports for just a second there, and all the
yeah.
different Irish sports. Who is your club? Do you have a football club that you support? We call it soccer here, but do you have a football
Yeah.
club? I always ask this
Uh-huh.
whenever I talk to like
Yeah,
a
yeah. You like
European
it.
guest because I just want to know. I'm a soccer fan, so
Okay. Outside of Glasgow Celtic, no, I don't watch. I don't watch soccer. No, I watch the Irish sports. I watch the GAA, as we call it, which is the Gaelic Athletic Association,
Mhm.
which is Gaelic football and
Yep.
the Gaelic sport of hurling. And it's heating up the competition over there, and the championship is really, really heating up there. And I just being, I find, I suppose when I was growing up, yes, I played soccer, and I support the teams, but I find it very hard to watch the game nowadays, after watching a game of the Irish football or the Irish hurling, because it just
Yeah.
seems,
Mhm.
sometimes I think my telly is paused, being honest with you. So, and then yeah, and then the funniest thing about soccer is I think my television is paused, and then when I hit the side of it, about four players fall over. So
Yeah.
Nah,
They all got hit at the same time. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah, thank
doing
you,
this.
Evan.
More than welcome. I really appreciate it, lads. Thank you very
Appreciate
much
it.
for having me on.
And then some of you are watching for the first time.
Of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. If you're watching for the first time or the whatever number this is time, we're the Hustling Sideways podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us and you can download the show. We are also on YouTube. We are our guest shows with guests are on Milwaukee.
Hmm.
You can also find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify. Well, yes,
All the
Spotify.
above.
All the places, just
Hmm.
Google Hustling Sideways. You'll find us. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, you can send us an email. It is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
Or grab a link in the bio.
or grab the link on the Instagram bio.
Got him. Keep on hustling.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.